Welcome everyone to our I always f*** that up. It's Around the Edge, not Inside Edge. Welcome everyone to another Around the Edge episode. Tom Ahles, co-founder, partner here at Edge Home Finance. Today I get the privilege to sit with my good friend. Some days we're good friends. Kelli Marushin, used to be formerly Kelli Schnobrick. We've been together so long that I got to experience a name change with Kelli. But Kelli's been our processing manager here at Edge Home Finance for, has it been 10 years? It's got to be damn near close.
10 years on the 26th
of
this month.
Really?
Yeah.
Please make a note of that.
Pretty cool.
That's awesome. Make sure we get her a balloon, or maybe gift her a desk, or so
from Swap and Shop.
Yes. So Kelli has been, as I mentioned, Kelli's been with Edge, specifically with me, for quite some time. Right? It's we'll have 10 years here, which has been really awesome. Kelli's been by far one of the most reliable people that I've met. You know, she shows up. Even though sometimes, like, we kind of have, I don't know, I want to say big brother, or more like little brother, big sister complex, where we fight sometimes, but it's always in good nature. Is, you know, she cares just as much as I do about making sure that clients are taken care of, and that we deliver a good quality experience. So thanks for being on the show today, Kelli.
Thanks, Tom.
So 10 years ago, let's talk a little bit about your history, right? So in the mortgage industry, I know you've done some other things, because I think when I met you, you were working for a moving company, right? But let's back up to your first days in the mortgage industry, because you were in the mortgage industry before you came to join us, right?
Right. So in 2004, I worked for a company in Plymouth. I don't believe they're even still around, but I worked from there from 2004 to about 2008. So right when things were kind of calming down,
shit was hitting the fan.
Yeah. And I just knew something was up. A lot of people were kind of bailing, but I was a processor for that company for those few years, and worked with quite a few of the account executives that I still see today. Yeah. You know, they may be at different banks or different wholesale lenders, but so I did that for a few years, and then I went over to a moving company, and I actually was in sales for about 5 years.
What was that? Locomotion? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good company too. They're still very plugged into the real estate and mortgage world here locally. So I remember then, so we're 10 years ago, so it was 2013. How did it start? Like, help me remember.
Actually, well, it started through your daughter. I mean, honestly, I was working from home a few days a week, and every once in a while, your wife would I know her personally, and she would have Camille come over and sit at my house while I worked, and she went to the gym. So, and I just started that way, and then my youngest daughter started babysitting Camille.
That's right.
And then you started coming to pick her up at times, because otherwise I only knew Nicole. I mean, Nicole had saved my oldest daughter's hair, so it was a great story, but she just came over and spent hours with me, and so we became really close. And then Camille started coming over, and we babysat her a lot. And then I met you, and I think you just were at kind of a capacity at your Plymouth office, where you were interested in finding someone else to help with the processing. And so you approached me. You knew I had done it before, and we talked a little bit about it, and I came on board.
The rest is history. A decade later of yelling at each other and
kind of
late night texts. One thing about Kelli is, even sometimes I work stupid hours, and I like to get things off of my plate and set people up for the next day. Can't do that with Kelli, because if I send her a message at 10:15, I'm getting a response at 10:17. If I send her a message at 5:05, I'm getting a message at 5:07. So I respect that about you. But I know we even became, obviously we're team members, but we're friends we're friends. Right. Well, we're neighbors damn near for a while, because even when I think back to 10 years ago, we both lived in St. Louis Park. Mm-hmm. I remember your husband, I'd see him on his bike from time to time. That was back when he was riding his bike. Mike, I don't think he rides his bike anymore, does he? No. Him or me lately. It's just kind of how it goes. But we've experienced a lot of, I would say, growth pains together. We've went from where I think 10 years ago, we didn't have more than 40 people, 30 people.
Yeah, I don't even think maybe? We had that.
Yeah.
You had a staff at the Plymouth office of maybe 6. Yeah. And then there was Jake, Santi,
Ryan, Fred was still there with us, still with us today. Right. We were pretty...
But then in December of 2013, I had my cardiac arrest. Yeah. And then you were kind of at a point where you were, I remember having a conversation with you and you saying, well, you know what? I think I'm going to close down the Plymouth office and just go work at the Edina location. So I did have about a month there where I wasn't really working. But then in January, you came back and you said, hey, here's what we're going to do. And at that time, it was just me, you, Chris, Chantal, and Amy.
Yeah, it was definitely. Office. I think Shannon Johnston was maybe with us way back then.
She came in afterwards.
Yep. That was a crazy time. I remember the whole cardiac arrest deal, because that was traumatic. And thankfully, you made it through that. You made it through it to where you're doing better and feeling good. But I was scared for you for that time too, because that was not a fun situation. Right. Especially because I went to the hospital to visit you right when they were pulling out that what do they call it? The tube, I don't know. The breathing tube. Like, it was wild. All I know is, like, holy smokes, like, what am I watching? But it was great to see you rebound and get that fixed, which is another story. We could go in. Kelli has stories for days, but it was a pretty cool story how her life was saved in that event, which is also the person who saved your life is even a client of ours and friend too. And good friends with Jose and Sheila, who also are part of Edge.
We're family.
Yeah. So, life of a processor, right? We normally have loan officers with our company. You're the first processor that we've had on this show. Let's talk about, I would say from your experience, right? What do you think is a differentiator between those that you see that are always having good experiences with the client? The clients are happy, the transaction goes smooth. What would you say is a good common denominator? Because I've never asked you this, but you see it, and I know probably what that is, but just because the majority of our listeners on this, being it's around the edge, are a lot of our originators, and we have over 650 right now. Right. What would you say is the biggest attribute or characteristic that yields a happy customer, good transaction, good loans?
Good communication.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Well, not period. Good communication, and obviously being detailed oriented, as a processor. But for the client, they want communication. They want to be able, pick up the phone, talk to them. Yep. Show them that you're a person too, and you're here to help them, get into their home. Yeah. And that's always been pretty. For me, it's been probably the best part of my job too. Sometimes I think today we get so caught up in the text messaging and just shoot an email instead of picking up the phone, especially after you send those conditions. And obviously, as a processor, we have to be not only communicative or whatever with the client, but with the loan officer as well. Yep. I think to have a relationship with the loan officers and to pick up the phone, answer their phone calls, answer their questions is key, right? And I don't know all the answers, not even after 10 years in this business.
Sure, well, it changes
everything
all
changes.
the time, so even if you knew
it. Even the processors that might call me and ask me a question, I might have to say, you know what, let's look into this.
Yeah.
But to try to find a solution and, but communication, I believe is number one.
Couldn't agree more. I think, there's times where even communicating bad things, to me, are what builds some of the best clients that I've ever had, right? It's like, even when shit hits the fan, and it's like, hey, this is what are setting the communication up front, setting the timeline of, especially because we've done a decent amount of down payment assistance, right? And those are just a cluster. But to help someone, for us, and I say for us because I know you feel the same way, especially if the communication's been good from the beginning, those tough files are fun to work when everybody's working together and they understand, like, it's not just, hey, well, I'm waiting on you. Well, wait a minute. You should never really be waiting on us. We're waiting on a different party that is your party too.
Right.
But I think a good loan officer, at least my opinion, besides communication and organization, as you stated, is really also having empathy. Having empathy for their situation, to where it's scary wondering where the roof over your head's going to be, especially on a difficult file, to where, like you said, pick up the phone and call the client, have the conversation, set expectations. It seems, though, a lot of the younger generation, they don't necessarily want that, right? I mean, maybe it could be wrong.
That's true.
But to me, there's clients that I've closed that maybe I had a 3-minute conversation with one time, and the rest is all through text and email, right? Yeah. It's part of the changing times, I guess. But so, we've obviously, you've seen the growth of the company from really, man, I think there's been times where, especially 10 years ago with us, we were probably 5-6 people. To now you've grown your own business inside of Edge in a way, right? Yeah. Which, I think everyone within our company has the ability to do, whether it's a processor, whether it's a loan officer, and you want to recruit or introduce someone. But from a processing standpoint, you've ran, to me, you've always been the go-to. But right now, how many processors do you have that work on your corporate processing team?
8.
8, yeah. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah. And really, to think that you have twice as many processors as we had total employees when you started is pretty freaking cool. Yeah. Which takes a lot of time too. That's probably why you work the stupid hours that I do.
It's a lot of training.
Yeah.
And we've had some that have came in and have processed before and are extremely successful. And we have others who have came in with no background in processing and have also taken the time to learn and ask questions and are extremely successful. Yeah. I mean, I think of, Morgan and, but she really wants to learn and she's dedicated to learning all the banks.
And self-sufficient, right? I think that's a characteristic of a good loan officer too, is, before you just go and ask a question, like, type it into Google, type it into the Knowledge Coop, like, be resourceful. It's one of the things that, for me, I've always preached with our own team members, like, before you're calling the account executive, like, people say, I can't get a hold of Christina. It's probably because she's busy answering a question that somebody could have found on their own, right? To where, I try not to bother my team members unless it's at a high level enough to where it's time to get you involved. And I think, when we talk about you, and then we could even say Morgan, Kate, Adrian, the gals that we have right now that are running the processing team all seem to be very self-sufficient, right? To where they have that characteristic of not only communication, some have, I'm fine with those that have, especially in a processing, that have the 9 to 5, great. Be reliable 9 to 5.
Right.
We have some that are just crazy like we are. even last night, it's like I almost feel bad because there's times where I don't need a response, but I need to have it teed up and ready to go. And I think our newest one, Adrian, last night, it's 10:15. I'm still here at the office and she's responding. And I'm like, damn, you know, like I'm not trying to make you feel like you have to. But it's been good to see that growth. It's good to see, you know, the oversight and management that you've had to where there's always going to be issues that pop up. And what I mean by issues are things that maybe you've never even experienced, but it's one of your junior processors that are like, hey, what? I don't even know what to do with this.
Right.
But the cool part is when it comes to you, you always find a resolution. Like you always look, you always do the work to like whatever it is. Sometimes it might not be the news we want to hear, but you find it out because it's not like we're reinventing the wheel here, right? Like there is an answer. How do you find it? Whether it's Flagstar Help Desk, whether it's the guidelines, whether it's, you know, we need this company only works with WeWork or these weird verification companies or the condo stuff. I mean, non-stop learning every day, right?
It is.
Which is good because to me, you've stayed, I don't know, tried and true over 10 years of always being not only reliable, but being self-sufficient, right? And to me, like one, even though we've worked together 10 years, we don't really talk that often, right?
Not anymore.
No.
We used to. I used to sit in his office.
That's true. We used to do pipelines
We
and
used
go
to do
through
pipeline
very
reviews.
detailed. But I mean, truthfully now, for
No.
both of us, our
Yeah.
time is very valuable. It's the only thing that we can't get more of, right? We can get more money, we can get new things, you can do anything, but the one thing you and I can't get back is time. So to me, I always try to be respectful of people's time because that is the, you know, that's the one thing I don't, when I'm taking someone's time for a point that I could figure something out on my own, it's like theft to me. Hate it. When someone comes and steals my time over, hey, what is the requirements for this? And you could literally go into Google and type it. That's laziness. And
Right.
I don't, as you know, for me, I don't have a very good tolerance for lazy people.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Right now, we're May. It's finally starting to get nice here in Minnesota.
Finally.
You've got a team of 8 processors. You're always like, so your position's very similar to sales. Even though the first processor we had on here, we always have that feeling in sales like, wow, I don't have any loans, right? Because it's May, and we're in the middle of May right now, but then we're looking at June and July. I don't have any loans. Every month, I would say I finally have gotten to the point of my career where like I understand that it's going to be there just because it's not. It's like it's a scary business because you're at 100% commission as well,
Correct.
just like all of our other processors. The cool part about Edge's model is really, you know, you're a partner. Right? Like we don't make any money off of processing, right? It's always been a value add for us to have that for our team members because I don't like third party processing, right? I really don't. I want to be able to say, hey, this is how I want it done, or this is the way we want communication instead of a third party process. They kind of tell you how it goes. Where I was going with that is, what are the goals for you? Like with this business, knowing, you know, you've been here 10 years, right? I don't know, you know, we'll just say a 5-year plan, right? It's normally what I ask people, like, hey, where do you see yourself and what do you want to, like, are there any goals that you want to accomplish with what you're doing?
So, you know, a year ago, it would have been so different. I mean, I think my goal today is more building that business, right? Building even the processors that are working underneath me, for them to have the ability to kind of build their business as well. Okay,
yeah, you've done that.
So
haven't you?
I'm working on that.
I think Morgan was the first one.
Morgan's the first one. I
yeah.
had hired an individual to work with Morgan, but to really have them take control of their own business
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
But yet still be able to kind of be the go-to person
Yeah.
and to trickle
Being their
down,
mentor
right?
to help
you
them
know, I am 59 years old. I can't believe I just said that. But I am older, and you know, to be honest, I like to respond. I like to be available to anybody at any time. But I also, I look at myself that in 5 years, I'll be kind of hopefully being more running the business and not doing as much processing piece. And that's really what I've been trying to do is build up the team so the team members have files and have loan officers that they're working with directly. A benefit to working with a corporate processor, first of all, we can process in any state that we're licensed in. So whatever Edge is licensed in, we can come in and we can process there. You don't have to worry about a third-party processing, person being licensed. And I hear so many loan officers say, oh, but I want to charge that processing fee. I want to charge it to the client. Why? Why? You know what? You build a good rapport from that client, and you and I have talked about this so much. You're going to get referrals, right? 100%. You're going to have that relationship. And that's where I'd like to see myself in 5 years to 3 years is to really, build the processing team even more and to just build Edge. I consider myself your partner.
Yeah, you are. I would agree.
And I'm kind of taking direction just like what you've been doing, recruiting people and helping them succeed. That's what I would like to do.
Good. Well, we've been seeing that in the works. Even if you rewind 3 years ago, if I would have sat with you 3 years ago and said, hey, where do you want to be 3 years from now? 3 years ago, I don't think we had one other. It was just you, right?
It was just me and one other person.
So to add 8 people, if I look at what your processing team does, now a couple of them are new that are just coming on a part of that 8, but my guess would be, your team is probably doing 150 loans a month. With all of them are pretty darn close.
I would say close
I know
to
I close 20 normally a month, so you have that. Plus there's, lost a couple good players here and there, added some new team members on. But to me, there's one thing that you can't teach, and that is caring, right? Actually caring about your job. Caring to okay, hey, Tom's stressed out about this. It's not Tom's trying to be a dick. Tom cares about the client too. And I am his partner on this to where that's what I've always appreciated about you. Just being there, going through the tough times together, going through the good times together. And it's been great. I'm excited that 10 years. Don't let me forget that. That's one thing. Thank God for my wife, because she always hey, you should be doing these things. Hey, you should be yeah, that's a good idea. But now we finally get into the size with our company. We have people to help with the execution of that. Even these podcasts that Jake's doing. Jake has done some great things with these, given a chance to highlight. It's important to me. If I worked for a company and I knew somebody that's been there 10 years and has been busting their ass to do something from a processing part, most people don't think, well, I can't build. I'm just a processor. No, that's not it. You do have the capability and the ability. For us, it's as I've said to you, even you say, hey, I need more loans. Well, guess what? We've got 650 loan officers. Go ask them for it, right? Yeah. Same for me with sales guys. If they came and asked me, hey, I need more loans, well, call a real estate agent, right? It's out there. It's a self-sufficient. You've built what you have from your work ethic and who you are. So no surprise that it's finally, I don't want to say even paying off right now, because sometimes scaling is actually downsizing.
It is.
For your own personal income, right? Yeah. For me, I've even teetered on, hey, do I continue originating? Do I not? Starting to scale back a little and focus more on things from a corporate level, which sucks sometimes, right? And just for you, it's still okay, well, wait a minute. I'm giving up, and it's not like you guys make a ton of money. You're making $500, $600 a file. Now it's actually less. It's $650 minus 10%. Minus. At the end of the day, $500, right? Yeah. That's a small amount of money when you're trying to build a team. But when you start to do it like you are, and I think you've seen how we've done it with Edge, it's hey, the appraisers make more money than Edge does on a transaction. The same with you.
Yeah.
But when you start to get good team members that you can rely on and you invest that time, it's like, to me, it's like planting an orange tree, right? I'm going to plant that seed. I do have to care for it. I do have to tend to it. But after a while, that tree bears fruit, and I don't really need to do shit besides pluck oranges, right? And it may take a little bit of time. Yeah. So I'm excited for you to see where that goes in the next, I said 5 years. She said 3, if you didn't notice.
3.
Yeah.
I can do it in 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I remember sitting in the Plymouth office and even Chris coming in with this plan about how we're going to do things, and that was 9.5 years ago, and to see the company grow and especially this year, obviously we've really grown quite a bit. But I, like you said, 3.5 years ago, it was you and me, and we were just constantly working. I mean, that's all we were doing.
50 loans a month.
Right. And, I think we were both like, we need to get some help here. COVID. And so grateful for the kind of the kick you gave me to say, Kelli, get some more people in here. And we had to. I mean, it was just, we absolutely had to. And to see that today and see how it can truly benefit service, benefit communication, benefit Edge Home Finance. And like I said, it's not always just about benefiting me. Correct. I've told the girls, I kind of want to, wind down a little bit. So I see myself still working for the next 10 years easily, right?
Just not 75 hours a week.
But I don't want to work, as much as we were at one time. However, I know that there's going to be some growing pains that, like you said, tending to that orange or tending to that orange tree or whatever, and just the process of that, learning that too.
That's how it goes. I think it's when you have good people, those are things that you work through together. That's why you and we've had great times, we've had bad times, we've had fuck you times.
I have said that
for
before,
both of us. It's like, well, you know what? It's real. Sometimes when it's down to someone having a roof over their head, I'd rather have someone that cares than like, it's 5 o'clock, I got to go and check out. And to me, like, that's a necessity, right? You can't teach that and you can't train it. Either you care and you realize this isn't a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
It's a start to finish job. And sometimes that does mean it's 9 o'clock at night, or we'll take your team member Morgan, who's on the West Coast, and she has a closing on the East Coast. Sometimes that means setting your alarm at 4 a.m. Right? That's what she does, right? And it's the same thing for you. It's like, hey, lender opens at 8. It's 7 here. I don't ever have to question whether or not you're doing everything that it takes to uphold our reputation. So appreciate you greatly for that. Tom. I'm excited to celebrate your decade with Edge Home Finance. I think that's really special. I'm glad you told me, because I would have forgot. And I still may forget if Jake doesn't tell me. So now it's
Jake
on
will
Jake.
remember.
Okay?
It's all on Jake.
New table for her with a bow. We'll just get her. We'll have her set. So I got to share this part of the joke. I'll pick on Jake a tad bit. So Jake LaTorelle, who's our video production manager here. We've got our new office in Minnetonka, and we have office furniture that he's setting up his office. So I always preach to our guys to take action, right? Like, sometimes I don't need to be asked everything, just do it. So, well, all of our furniture's leased, and I get a text message last night from Chris Hacker of Jake's on Swap and Shop at our office furniture that is on there. Like, hey, great $3,000 table for $200. Steal. Like, it was a steal. So it was funny. I asked Jake, Jake, what the hell are you doing? It's like, well, they told me to just, call the dumpster guy or get rid of it. I'm like, oh, man. So he got thrown under the bus a little bit, which was funny. So I had to poke jokes on it. But that really is the part of what makes it enjoyable. You've moved an hour away, right? and you still drive down here 2-3 days a week to really be around the culture, right? Which is, I love the energy of our new office.
I do too.
Right? I mean, I think it's buzzing. We have people that are working hard. Everybody, I think why I love the mortgage industry, and especially our company, everybody's self-managing, right? It's not like, typically in an office environment, you have to have a manager that's always like, hey, I need to know this. Like, granted, I kind of manage you because I'm managing my files, right? And it's not even a management, it's more like teamwork, right? Same as I have to manage the underwriter or I have to manage the appraisal, but everybody works and works hard, and we've got a really good culture going here. I'm glad you still drive the 2 hours plus round trip to come here and, keep kicking ass.
I love the energy here. You talk about being self-starters, but we also are, everybody wants to see everybody succeed.
Yes.
So if I don't know the answer to a question, I can go ask. If Tom's busy, I can go ask one of the other loan officers, hey, what do you think about this? I could Google, yes, but there's other things that I might not know or might not come up.
Or that aren't clear.
And I just love that everybody is here to help each other and to really just help each other succeed. So this company has always been about that.
Yeah.
And you just feel that energy. When we first moved into this place, it was just like, it's only been 2 weeks, and it was just we're back.
That's it. It's been good. We added a couple of new team members here too, which has been awesome. But appreciate everyone tuning in. I would say if you're looking for a different processing opportunity, consider Kelli and her team, right? Obviously, I don't have skin in the game from that aspect. She has some small skin in it, but she does it because she cares, and that's something you can't teach. And to me, it's a no-brainer. Now, granted, you're doing $150,000 average loan size. Yeah, I understand why you need third-party processing, right? But the average loan size in our country is damn near $400,000. At that point, my belief, there's enough money in there to be made to pay the processing. But to each their own. We always do that. But if you're looking for something different, reach out to Kelli. It's Kelli with an I at edgehomefinance.com. And thank you. Appreciate friendship. Appreciate the partnership. And look forward to the next 3 years. Maybe we'll get to 5 out of...
No, growth, I said.
Yeah. You said
here
10
for 10
years you're going to be here. We'll see. Mike might have different, or husband might have different plans of...
it'll be 10.
Yes. That's it. Thanks again, everyone.